America is under siege. And this seemingly benign Ritz cracker, it's not necessarily the Ritz cracker itself that's causing the farm crisis and the food system crisis that we're currently facing, but it's what this Ritz cracker represents. This highly processed item, as well as its counterparts, represent everything wrong with our current food system. And I'm going to use this Ritz cracker to explain the farming crisis, from greed to corruption to the misuse of taxpayer dollars to the chronic disease that runs in your family. Everything is represented by this ultra processed food. And I'm going to show you just how that works. All right, this is a live event. First things first, got to double check if we're actually on and live. If you're in here, say what's up. Looks good to me. Is the audio working? Awesome sauce. So yes, this is live. If you're watching the replay, at the very end of this, you're going to have a full understanding of what's currently going on in the food system in America, and you're going to be able to understand how this impacts your taxpayer dollars, what it even, how this impacts what ends up on your family's fork. And it's all explained by the seemingly benign Ritz cracker. I got a whole pack of these for 12. Wait, no, how much was this? This was $5.49, maybe like $6 after tax. And they say freaking healthy food is expensive. No, that's way too expensive. Anyways, let's talk about it. The audio works. What's up, guys? Get in here. So yeah, if you're watching the replay of this, consider this a layman's masterclass. And by the very end of this, you're going to be fully abreast and be the smartest person in the room when you're talking to your friends about what's currently going on in the state of agriculture and nutrition, farming, and the general food system in the U.S. You may have heard some news, but by the end of this, you're going to be an expert, subject matter expert. What's up? What's up? Happy Saturday. Pile on in here. Where are you watching from? Last time we streamed, we had a huge issue with some we had a huge issue with some technical difficulties. I um wasn't able to be live or stay live because of the connection issue. All right, let's get right on into it. We got some things to talk about. I don't want to hold you. This freaking Ritz cracker, I'll tell you what. All right, we got Oakland. What's up? Or did you misspell that? Michigan, Chile. What's up, Chile? What's up? What time is it over there? All right, let's talk about it. So in February, there was an executive order, and this executive order was the White House choosing to double down on the usage of pesticides. And this caused a lot of responses depending on what any party or camp believes about said chemicals. But let's talk about it. Here, let's zoom this in a little bit. I got Ritz crackers dust on my fingers. Let's get cleaned up here. All right. Yeah, I'm coming for it. I'm coming for it. Let's talk about it. Let's zoom in here. So an executive order, right? I know a whole lot more about nutrition than I do the judicial system and how systems and things work, but let's talk about it. So this executive order, this is a clip from it, and there's going to be clips throughout here, and I'm going to show you kind of what's going on here. So this executive order is sectioned off right here. So I just want to read one of the screenshots I got from it. Everything I talk about in this video is going to be linked in the top right. This is a mural board. If you're familiar, then cool. But if not, then you'll kind of see as we go here. Anyways, this is what we're going to read off here. So elemental phosphorus is also a critical precursor element for the production of glyphosate-based herbicides. Herbicides is a subgroup of pesticides. Herbicides are specifically getting at those things that allow you to not grow your plants like weeds. So we use glyphosate. That's the standard agrochemical that we use on the conventional big scale farming side of things, as well as if you want to kill some weeds in your backyard, you're going to go for glyphosate, right? And it's probably going to come in a bottle of Roundup, which I know you guys are likely familiar with from those old commercials. They play a critical role in maintaining America's agricultural advantage by enabling farmers to efficiently and cost effectively produce food and livestock feed. Double tap on that. Just hang out there for a second. Where's my writing tools? How can I write here? Show creation tools. We're going to whiteboard it style all day. This is what we're going to do as we go. So double or underscore that. Ooh, Lord, that ain't pretty. Double tap on that Remember that. As the most widely used crop protection tool in the United States, crop protection, that's interesting. Glyphosate based herbicides are a cornerstone of this nation's agricultural productivity and rural economy, allowing United States farmers and ranchers, this is important, to maintain high yields and low production costs. Ooh, those are some ugly squiggly lines. Forgive me for being the world's most messy teacher right now. Online teacher. While you guys are piling in, tell me where you're from. No lurking allowed. Where are you watching? Where are you currently based? And don't be lying. I had somebody, well, I won't say I had somebody, but I'm sure that a lot of folks be like, I'm somewhere cool. Be where you be at and say it proudly. Anyways, so affordable food options remain within reach. Oh, this is so interesting. So this comes straight from the White House. And what we're looking at here is the words of, written or otherwise, President Trump and the folks that put together these executive orders or whatever the case may be. And it's very interesting because this has caused a ripple effect that is a part of a larger narrative and larger web of things going on. And like I promised, by the end of this, you're going to be an expert on how exactly this impacts what ends up on your family's fork. And it's represented by this freaking Ritz cracker. Oh, like that. That's crazy. What's up? What's up? Thank you, Pam, for hopping on in. Oh, I should probably tell people I'm live, but I just like focusing on you guys. How you guys doing today? Happy Saturday. Easter's tomorrow or Resurrection Sunday or whatever. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome in, welcome in. Here, let me tell people that are I am live. All right, I want to make sure I'm focusing on the chat. Yeah, last time we live streamed, we had some huge problems. So this mural board is going to kind of track us as we go. So what is this executive order? Let's talk about it. Right now, the American food system is based on what we call chemical intensive agriculture. And that is basically the use of chemicals to get the job done. From every step 0 to step 10 of growing food, we use chemicals to kind of get that job done. And we are undergoing some interesting developments. This isn't the first time there's been, I don't want to call it a farming, well, this isn't the first time there's been like a farm crisis in the US. But right now, we're facing a pivotal time where if we don't make a decision as a nation, if the people don't change what they eat, and if the government doesn't change how the food system works, if NGOs don't have an impact, if policy doesn't change, we're going to see some very interesting effects. And I think this video is going to kind of lay it out. What's going to be coming down the line from these decisions that we're making. So what exactly is this? This is the so what exactly is chemical intensive agriculture, right? So basically America's entire food system rests on the shoulders of glyphosate, that herbicide, that pesticide that we talked about. That is, if we want to be able to get something done on the commodity side of things, then we want to use glyphosate. That's our standard way of growing plants here. Certain plants, and they are going to be represented by this Ritz cracker. I know. What's the connection there, Johnny? You'll see. You'll see. A lot of Michigan in the house. What's up? Hey, Sally. What's up? What's up? What's up? Silvercrest, what's up? All right, let's keep going here. So what is this executive order? How do I do this? Flip. Executive order. The White House causes a protection and authorization of domestic production of glyphosate-based herbicides. What that means is the White House is going in and saying, hey, we are going to back up and almost give some form of immunity to those that are producing glyphosate. So they are doubling down amidst all of the information age stories that are coming out. People are learning so much more about glyphosate. The current saying is glyphosate's in all of our blood, and it's so controversial. And you got people like you got Dr. Mike bringing on people. He had a Dr. Mike. I'm sure you guys seen his face. You're not sure of his YouTube channel, but he brought on like a doctor that was pro chemical and saying that it doesn't do anything wrong to the body. And then you had another doctor on there that said, oh yeah, well you should probably go for organic for your peace of mind. And they just argue for like 2.5 hours. Right now the internet is split, and it's the most interesting thing. I think it's so fascinating. So that's really what we want to understand about this executive order. It comes straight from the White House, and it directly impacts what's going on here. Okay, so let's keep going here. What does the Ritz cracker got to do with all of this? Well, there's really a couple things you should know about this Ritz cracker. Well, first off, let's talk about what we do know about Ritz crackers. And I went ahead again. I spent $5.49 on this, and I spent that much at a freaking Aldi. And they say healthy food is expensive. This is ridiculous. When did crackers get that expensive? Maybe I'm just a burgeoning new adult and I don't know anything about the price of food, but I didn't think that I'd be spending that much. That's definitely a tax write-off. Anyways, what are the ingredients? Why do they matter? Well, let's look at it. We got a few interesting things here that I really want to point out. Unbleached enriched flour, right? So we're talking about these Ritz crackers. We have soybean oil, okay? And we have high fructose corn syrup. What these three things have in common is going to be so forthtelling about what we are about to talk about here. Okay, so what else do we know? Well, Ritz crackers, they're seemingly benign, right? They're practically harmless. When people are going in on highly processed foods, no one's like, "Hey, and you make sure you get rid of those Ritz crackers while you're at it." No, but Ritz crackers is so cool because it's one of the only foods that or it's not one of the only foods, but it's probably the most popular ultra processed food that shows everything wrong in one from wheat, from the unbleached enriched wheat flour, from the soybean oil to the high fructose corn syrup. All three of those things represent something in the food system that we have been doing, almost to just say frankly, wrong for a lot of time. And this is one of the only products that shows them all put together. And I love that idea. So if you keep looking, if you keep reading, right? So contains a bioengineered food ingredient. What does that mean? It's GMO, right? So we understand GMO. What we do need to understand about chemical intensive agriculture, that is the use of glyphosate, herbicides, pesticides, right? We cannot apply those things on the things we want to grow without killing those things. For example, if the point of the herbicide, break it down the word, right? Herb, meaning plant, right? And then you have side, meaning to kill. So it's to kill plants. Wait, why are we spraying something that kills plants right on the plants? Shouldn't the plants die too? Yes, you are making a wise connection there, a very smart, intuitive connection. So what did we do? Well, we changed and spliced and, we basically changed a piece of the DNA that allowed the plant that we want to grow to be resistant to death from the herbicide. That is, it'll kill the weeds around it without killing the plant. And that's the entire point about GMO. We have GMO wheat, if I'm not mistaken. GMO wheat's already standardized, or it's very close to being standardized. We have GMO soybean for sure, and then we have obviously when you are driving here in the Midwest, right? That's where I live, so I'm from Chicago, right? Hey, what's up, y'all? Say where you're at in the chat. I'm still looking at chat. I still want to interact with you guys and answer any questions as we go. But yeah, this farm crisis thing is interesting. Anyways, I'm in the Midwest, and if you're driving south on the I-57, you're going to see, once you get far enough south, you're going to see miles and miles of corn. Well, what's interesting is that that corn is not ending up in your grocery cart. That is not the corn that we're eating. That's not the sweet corn on the cob that you see at the grocery store. I mean, if it was, you see a whole lot more corn in your grocery store. No, that's not what that is for. And that is the GMO crop, by the way. Where's that corn going? Oh, well, that is a tricky thing to answer. But what we have here, and you will get the answer in this live stream, by the way. But what we have here between soybean, between wheat, and between corn are three of America's favorite cash crops, probably the world's favorite cash crops. Cash crops is an interesting word. Think about it. We're growing a crop, and the goal of it is to make money. Cash crop is standardized. That's standard conventional language. If you get into agribusiness, you're saying cash crop. That's really what we call it. That means the purpose of the food is no longer to nourish and feed communities and do all of that, but it is to grow it, to sell it, to what? Make cash, right? It's an oxymoron. Cash crop is an oxymoron. It makes no sense. We are taking food and we are retrofitting a purpose on it that is no longer its original intention, and now its entire purpose is to bring in profit for the growers and the people that are over the growers. It's not listen, farmers should make money. That's the bottom line. That's true. But what you're going to find from this is that it isn't necessarily the farmer that's making money. In fact, when we talk about these two problems that comes up, I don't know. I think the farmer is actually put in a pretty tough spot, especially the conventional farmer. Yep, biofuel as well. That's one of the bigger reasons we grow our GMO corn. And we're not really eating that stuff. We're just sending it out. GMOs also in the debate chopping block right now. There's a huge online conversation about is GMO actually bad for us or not. This entire live stream is going to show you that that is an aversion conversation. It's completely missing the entire point if it's bad or not. That's a low-hanging conversation. We're not even going to discuss if these things are bad. We're just going to talk about the downstream effects of the way that we farm here in America. I can't wait for you guys to get some aha moments from this stream. Hopefully you got some already. Let's keep chopping it up. All right. So that is really what you just got right there was a crash course. You just got a crash course of how GMO, pesticides, herbicides, if you never understood it, now you understand it, right? So what we have right here are our cash crops, right? These cause two problems. The fact that we have these cash crops, right? Corn, soybean, wheat, right? We grow them for money. So that's 3. So this is 4. Let's go here first. So China is America's biggest customer of soybeans for obvious reasons, right? It's huge in their culture. The soybeans and the derivatives of the soybeans are highly used in their culture, so they buy a lot from America. In fact, they were America's #1 consumer of these. They were America's #1 importer. That is, we grew all of that stuff, all of the soybeans, and we sold it to China for them to benefit. So this gets interesting because let's check this out. Read this. From the end of May 2025 to the end of November, the U.S. exported no soybeans to China. Not one soybean. Got on a big old boat in some freight cart and got to China. Why? Well, let's keep talking about it. Let's keep reading here. During this time, China depended on Brazil to continue imports. So further assistance should consider this unaccounted loss. Okay, let's get to that point after that. That's fine. Again, everything we talk about is going to be like linked right here at the top right. I may or may not go in and actually link them in the description. But this is from, I'll just say it, soy growers. Oops, I clicked on something. Soy growers association. Anyways, so this is interesting. Why weren't the Chinese importing goods from America? Well, we had a little bit of a conversation about tariffs. Now, who else learned what the word tariffs was just last year, in the last couple years? Who else didn't even know really what a tariff was? I'm not big into imports, exports, and this stuff. This is all stuff I kind of have to understand for the sake of this stream and for the sake of knowing, like, the food system and stuff. But I didn't know what tariffs were until very recently. Who else just learned what the heck a tariff was? Anyone? I am also a youngster, so sometimes older people just know more than me. I assume my audience is older than me. Say your age if you're not scared. Anyways, no, seriously, say where you are from if you haven't already. Shout out New Mexico. Pennsylvania's in the house. What's up? What's up? Yeah, it is pretty ironic, Dubs. So let's keep talking here. So China's like, okay, you got this threat of tariffs, the implementation of tariffs as well, and there is this huge tax. That means that it costs China more money to bring things in from the U.S., right? We could talk downstream effects about tariffs and all that stuff, but go check in with your local economist for that. The bottom line is that it costs China more money. China didn't like that. China's going to start shopping from Brazil, right? That's the idea. So this caused a ripple effect in the farming community. Okay, what happens when your #1 customer backs out? When the largest piece of your revenue pie is no longer there. So this is what I understand is simple economics, right? Let's say you're running a lemonade stand and you are selling lemonade on a very popular block. And let's just say I'm going to use a percentage here. Majority of the block is usually shopping over there, right? And then majority leaves, right? Let's just say 50 or 60% they leave and they no longer shop with you. You poison the lemonade because you accidentally were making lemonade, or no, better yet, you just made some nasty lemonade one time, right? You got lazy, you didn't put enough sugar in it. Everybody's like, "Ooh, you got nasty lemonade here. I'm going to stop coming," right? So people stop coming to your lemonade stand and you lose your #1 customer. Well, the downstream effect is that you can't charge the same prices you used to charge. You got to go cheaper now. And if you go cheaper, you're not making the same amount of money that you once were. But the problem is, you still got a lemonade stand to pay for. You still got to pay for your wooden sign. You still got to pay for the ice. You still got to pay for having the water stuff and the lemonade and the sugar. Clearly, I haven't ever ran a lemonade stand. But you still have all of this investment that you have to cover, but you no longer are making as much money. So since you're lowering the price, you're making less money. That has a huge effect on our farmers. I'm pushing 40 from New Hampshire. What's up, Sarah? Samuel, what's up? 21 and graduating this year. Are you graduating in May? Congrats, man. You're around the corner. Welcome, welcome, welcome. What's up, Ms. Cat Mag? Yeah. 16-year-old student here. Man, shout out you. You are number one. Okay, what does this mean? You get a crown next to your name. You're 75 XP. Is that the time you spent in this chat? Because you're actually you're number one, but Pam and Ali, tell me if I'm saying your name right. You guys are also 75 XP. I don't live stream as much as I'm supposed to, but I think that means time in the chat. Does anybody know what the ranking is? I can look it up. I'll look it up. But if that's the case, hey, shout out you for being here. Crowns are for most active chatters or paying for it. Got it. Thanks, Bob. Fasting lowers grocery budget a lot. Yeah. This is why I don't like streaming, because I want to go into a rabbit hole. I want to talk about fasting so bad. I'm a huge advocate for fasting. I'm actually fasting right now. But I'm an advocate for fasting because a lot of the conversation is around, Johnny, we need to use the pesticides. We got to grow the GMO crop. We got to do this because we got mouths to feed. Well, first off, if you were paying attention earlier in the stream, you would have noticed that it isn't really that simple. I just told you, I'm in Illinois. I can go south on the I-57, see miles and miles of cornfields. That food isn't going to hungry mouths in the way that you think. A lot of it is used for biofuels, and it's also used for animal feed, right? So those are very important things. Those are the top two things, right? But we also export a large amount of soybeans. So soybeans are also popular here in the Midwest, and we export all of those. And it's not really a conversation of if we're feeding mouths or not. It's a conversation of, I wonder how much land that these non-food cash crops are taking up that we could otherwise use for real edible food. I wonder how much land are we using that we could be using for real food. I think about that, and I think about how we still got a lot of hungry communities here in the US, but it is a very intricate problem. I'm not going to act like it's not something that isn't highly nuanced, but I will show you through this stream why what we're currently doing, it ain't working. Yeah, hemp used to be a cash crop. Yep. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Sally. You're just breaking your 20-hour fast. There you go, Ivan. Yeah. So why am I even talking about fasting, right? As we shift over to number 5 here. Fasting is important because fasting is not just a practical thing, right? Sure, you go without food, your body has to fight the hunger signals, all this stuff, but it's also a cultural thing and it's also a spiritual thing, right? But let's just double tap on the cultural thing here for a second. A lot of Americans are chronically fed. That's our food culture. We eat when we celebrate. We eat when we watch Netflix. We eat when we watch YouTube. I probably got a lot of you guys eating right now. Don't be ashamed. It's just our culture. It's just what we do. We eat a lot here in America. In fact, we don't even allow ourselves to sit with hunger for a extended amount of time. If we're hungry, that becomes our compass, right? If we're hungry, we're eating no matter what. That's kind of like how we play around. That's kind of how we see our hunger signal. And when we're hungry, we reach for food. It's a question of, it's because we have such great food access and great food availability, we've observed the luxury of being able to eat whenever we want. But that has in turn trained us to never be hungry and to actually view hunger in a negative lens. But hunger, pain, and paying, right? Hunger pangs aren't like the rest of the physical pains that we experience on the body. And I don't think they're indicative of something that's inherently bad. Sure, they're uncomfortable, but I think fasting, I want to make the argument that it's actually a part of the natural human biology. I think our bodies and our DNA expects us to go without food for some time. And that means in turn, our association with hunger, right? The way that we view it, our paradigm around hunger, I think it needs to be um, uh, developed, almost like revolutionized, right? We can talk policy, we can talk farming, we can talk big agriculture and food system all day, but if the people kind of are trained under these same habits through associations, right? Like my habit, our habits, right? Like I watch a video, I got to eat while I watch it, right? Who watches Netflix and just doesn't watch anything, right? Not many people. But those are like the associations we're building on. Because of that, we're chronically fed. Because of that, we are giving the big food system engine kind of what it wants. And what I'm saying is that this is a holistic issue, what we're talking about here. And fasting, which we observe way more prevalent in other cultures, is actually obviously a huge lever in the amount of food consumed. And the amount of food consumed is a huge lever in everything, right? What isn't impacted by that? So if we want to talk about changing the food system, I think a lot of that has to do with us, right? I think that's an interesting conversation to have. I don't think it's an end all be all, but I think it's very interesting to talk about. Chemicals in the food make us always hungry. Dubs. Ooh, 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 ooh. Everybody listen, listen, listen.
Thank you for your patronage.
I got sound effects. Dubs, thank you so much, man. Hey, everybody go thumbs up that donation from Dubs. He donated $2. I want every donation to be acknowledged. Oh, Dubs doubled in. He donated 4. Just paying to play for #1 crown. LOL. Dude, everybody go like that. I want this community to support those that support this community. You know what I mean? Go like that. Throw thumbs that message up. Make him feel good for giving. And if you give, I want you to feel good. Oh crap, I knocked out my headphone thing. Every dollar I make goes straight to Feed the Land. If you guys aren't familiar with what Feed the Land is, I'll talk about it later. But yeah, did you guys hear that sound effect? Thumbs up. Do a video on the agricultural revolution. Yeah, Dub. So we're shifting a little bit here. We're going to be talking about, yeah, tell me if you heard that sound effect. We're going to be talking about farming and agriculture a lot more on this channel. I've been in conversation with farmers and food system experts, people that do distribution. I've been having a lot of talks with a lot of people. And it is such an intricate issue, and I just want to be able to just share more. So this is kind of a good introduction for this channel. I'm going to assume that nobody knows anything about farming when I talk about it. That's the beauty of my style of teaching. I kind of just want to like start from zero. Yeah, sound effect came in. We heard it. Thank you, Agent Bondi. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Cool. I'm super happy about that. Any SpongeBob friends here? SpongeBob fans here. Thank you for your patronage. That's one of my favorite episodes. Anyways, let's move on here. So let's talk about the fact that growing season is around the corner. So those that don't grow plants, right? Here in the Midwest, it ain't always sunny. But when it's sunny, you can grow a lot of things. But because of that, we kind of see this this growth of the entire agricultural market around this this springtime, right? I'm getting feedback in my mic or in my headphones. Oh, that's not good. Technical difficulties? Are you kidding me right now? Okay, give me 2 seconds. As long as you guys can still hear me. Headphones, I need another pair. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I have a sound effect for this. Elevator music. I have two pairs of the same headphones. Okay, I'm getting a little bit of feedback on these too, but a lot less. I'm just gonna have to deal with it. Okay. Okay. Well, I can hear fine enough. That's annoying. I don't know why things do things. All right, let's keep talking. We can hear you. Thank you. You've helped me with my health. I can die happy. Thank you so much, Corey. Thank you so much for $20 to the channel. That means a lot. Everybody go thumbs that message up. Make sure Corey feels good about his giving. recognize that. Thank you so much. Did I say educator music? I meant elevator music. Unless you're saying something. That's better. Okay, cool. Let's get back on track. I'm kind of a hot mess. All right. Anyways, just kidding. My mom wouldn't want me to say that I'm a hot mess on stream. She's always like, don't talk bad about yourself. I'll be on the phone with my mom and I forget my point. I'll be like, oh, my brain is mush right now. Sorry. She'd be like, John, I don't want you to say that about yourself. And I'd be like, okay. Oh, sorry. Corey.
Thank you for your patronage.
Need to get that, that sign. That sound effect. Let's keep talking. So fertilizer is going up. The price is going up. This is so interesting. Well, why is the price going up? It's not because we're entering, well, it's not just the fact that we're entering the growth season, right? Spring, right? The springtime, the summertime. A lot of more planting is going on. If you guys are unaware about what fertilizer actually is, it is considered it's the grower, right? And the thing about fertilizer is that amidst the wartime hullabaloo that we're kind of experiencing here in America, the people that have the ownership over our fertilizer, and I say our in a like collective sense because I'm not actually using fertilizer, they can kind of have an excuse to raise up the price. But a lot of people aren't buying it. There's actually something a lot more sinister going on with the people that have that are people that are over fertilizer, right? They're producers and sellers of fertilizer. There's a lot more sinister thing going on right now. So what we need to understand about fertilizer before we understand why the price is going up, how this affects the farmer, and how this impacts what ends up on your spoon and your fork, we got to talk about what's going on with the fertilizer itself, which is America's mindless input model. This is the way that we treat food. Fertilizer, if you do not know, is a reductive food for plants. That means that it isn't comprehensive in a sense that it kind of gives the plant everything it needs. Only in history has soil itself ever done that. That means that food is grown from the soil, and soil already had everything it needs to be able to grow a plant. But fertilizer is this idea that we can grow a plant with this NPK, right? Nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, right? We can grow a plant with NPK. And with that, we'll be able to feed the plant's roots, but not the soil. So the soil becomes this placeholder that we bypass in order to feed exactly what the plant needs just to grow, right? I call it, I'm coining this, America's mindless input model. The reason being is because it's this idea that America can get anything done as long as it keeps inputting, and inputting. But the scary thing about nature and plants, right, is that everything it needs to grow has already been there. Think about the fact that every nutrient is technically recycled from what has had it before. That is, if nitrogen, for example, magnesium is in your kale, right? Well, the kale picked that up from the soil. Minerals come from the ground. They come from the dirt, from the soil. Well, that piece of magnesium, it actually lived in a plant before that, and a plant before that, and a plant before that, and maybe, something else before that, right? And that is the idea behind nutritive cycling. Every piece of nutrients that we ever had, right? It's coming from something that had it before. That is because everything that comes from soil must return. So every mineral specifically is the easy example that I'm using to break down, because we know minerals come from the ground. Sodium, potassium, magnesium, right? They come from the ground. Well, they aren't just made up in some nebulous world and then like sprinkled into the world. Theoretically, every mineral you've ever consumed has existed from the jump, right? For the most part, it's coming from the ground, and the ground recycles it. Johnny, what about vitamins? Well, vitamins are synthesized by the animals and plants that interact with the soil. So what we see is the soil taking up this principal position. Soil becomes the place where everything living begins and returns And because of that, it's able to cycle our nutrients that we then take a part of through that natural cycle. But what we do with fertilizers, we say, we don't really care about all of that. Let's just give the plant what it needs to grow, forget about soil, and just erect the plant because we need to sell it, right? That's kind of the idea behind chemical intensive agriculture. And that's how we get things done. So this is what you need to know about fertilizer. So you can go back and be the smartest person in your living room and in your on your lunch break over the water cooler. Fertilizer is root food, not soil food. So it doesn't do anything for the soil. It just treats it as a placeholder that is simply holding the plant. Um, and that's America's mindless input model. It's acutely transactional. That means its sole purpose is not necessarily to treat and to tend to the soil, right? The holder of all our nutrients, right? The thing that we need to pay attention to, this thing that can deplete, the thing that has the power to increase our vitality and increase the robustness of our gut microbiome, increase our immunity, right? The soil and everything within it. No, forget that. It's kind of like, let's get rich quick. Let's have this input model. Let's get rich quick. And it's not an investment in the soil. It's just like we want to be acutely transactional. That is, we input so we can extract immediately, right? And as you do know, if you have not done anything that was get rich quick in your life, right? A pyramid scheme, for example, or something silly like that, where you put something, when you put money in something and expect immediate return in abundance, that doesn't really exist. And if it does, you get lucky. It's never been sustainable. And that's the crux of what we have going on in the US conventional agriculture system. It's not sustainable.
Thank you for your patronage.
Somebody just donated once more. 40 beans from Dubs. Dubs, where you work at, man? All right, now. Corey's not going to out-donate me. Dubs, I really appreciate it. Oh, Corey. Did I give? Oh, Corey, yep. Yeah, I'm super happy. Super happy I was able to help you with help. Thank you so much, Dubs. Really appreciate that. All of that goes into the good work that me and the team are doing here. Goes right back into it. So really appreciate that. What are you guys talking about in chat? Who's the top global fertilizer producer? We are about to find out. Somewhat, kind of. So let's keep chatting it up here. Yes. Okay, cool. If you guys are just now jumping in chat, make sure you let me know where you're watching from so I can shout you out. There's some people I missed, but just want to hear from you guys. All right, let's keep talking it up here. Okay, so the fertilizer problem is this. In 1990, there was a more competitive representation of those that produced and sold our fertilizer. And again, I say our in a collective term because I don't use it. Nitrogen, phosphorus, potash, right? Wherever, depending on where you're from, right? Potassium. What's going on here? So what we're looking at in this left graph, and let me just zoom in a little bit here, is the number of companies, right? Look at nitrogen, for example. Let's just focus on nitrogen. Pretend you're only looking at the blue bar here. In 1990, there were 30 companies that produced America's fertilizer, right? Nitrogen, or the nitrogen component of fertilizer. In 2024, right? 34 years later, right? That was reduced to less than 5. And this comes straight from Farm Action. They do good work to kind of track and keep the narrative understanding of what's going on in agriculture, right? Less than 5. So what does that do? Well, that means that there's this monopolization of one of the essential components of conventional agriculture here in America. That means that these companies turn into conglomerates, they vertically integrate. What that means is I'm a company, I'm going to take every process from step 0 to step 10 and allow that to be something that I own. That way I can control it in a tightly procedural manner. And what that ends up doing is giving the company a lot of control over not just how the product comes out, but the price as well. And that company that's vertically integrated buys other companies and keeps buying and keeps buying and keeps buying. So what you see is in 1990, you have this choice. You can go to XYZ and go get some fertilizer, or you can go to Billy Bo and his prices are always better. You go to Billy Bo because you get the same thing, but his prices are better, right? More competitive. It forces the other company to innovate, company XYZ. But now what we're seeing is that now that there's this huge ownership over the essential components of industrial agriculture, is that we get to set the price. And right now, fertilizer prices are going up because it's monopolized. They are saying, hey, a lot more people are about to be growing their stuff. Let's increase the price, and they ain't got no choice but to pay it, right? So that's kind of the issue there. It's kind of like right now we have the option to buy iPhone or Android, right? Who's Android here? Let's put a poll. That'll be fun. Who's Android? Who's iPhone? Engage with your audience. Start a poll. Are you Apple or Android? I am. Oh, I am Android. Let's get a poll. Let's get a poll going. Guys, vote on that poll. Let's get some engagement. Let's get some interaction. Let's see where you guys are from. Let's see what you guys are doing here. A lot of Apple. Okay, yeah. Okay, it's loading. It'll show me. Okay, cool. Oh, it looks like it's a close battle. Vote. I want to see. So imagine if Apple was just like, yeah, we're just gonna buy Android, will never happen, by the way. Yeah, we're just gonna buy Android and kind of like not give you guys the choice anymore. Well, now Apple has the ability to kind of do whatever they want because a phone is an essential component of our everyday lives. Because of that, they could just raise the price and we're gonna pay it. So that causes a problem. Problem number 6. Yeah, the board. This board gets extensive. Yeah, we're getting into it. Prices are going up for fertilizer. The thing that the backbone of America's mindless input model. But at the same time, where our farmers aren't making as much money, specifically our soybean farmers, because of the tariff situation, the trade war situation. Because of that, not only are you making less money, but you're spending more money. Your margins turn into absolute cow manure, which is a good thing. Cow manure is actually a great thing. I wish we used more of it. But your margins are poop now, right? You're not making as much money. But what you got to understand is that farmers have landlords. And this is the crux of the issue. You may have seen all of these sad farmers on the news, got their head down. They're talking about the destruction and the ending of the rural South and all this stuff. This is what we're talking about. This is what we're talking about. When you have those investigative journalists going in, yeah, we went to Arkansas and the rural situation is crazy, right? This is what we're talking about because farmers are landlords. They have all of this stuff that they got to pay off, that they got to pay for. A lot of them don't really own technically the land. A lot of them definitely don't own the facilities they use to grow this stuff. And now they have this problem where they can't pay for it because they don't make enough money. And they don't make enough money because of the trade war and because of the increase of like fertilizer price, right? There's that double impact. Okay, Johnny, that's just for soybean farmers though, right? Okay, well, let's double tap real quick on the chicken farmers, right? The chicken farmers are who we talked about recently here on the channel. We talked a lot about chicken, right? We talked a lot about eggs, and there's something really interesting going on. I just talked to Tom Bennett of Bennett Farms, Michigan. Shout out Tom. He was just on the phone. He was talking with me. He was like, "Hey, I know a lot of farmers that worked for Tyson. They grew chicken for Tyson, and they had to file bankruptcy." Johnny, now why in the world would a farmer for such a huge money-making company have to file bankruptcy? Well, it's because the system is really something that I think every American should know. You should know where your food comes from. This is what they don't want you to know, is that Tyson, they go to approach you at some conference, right? The USDA throws some conference, or FDA, one of these institutions, they grow a conference, and it's like, hey, they throw a conference and they say, hey, come on out, farmers of all, right? Starting farmers, new farmers, big company farmers, big ticket farmers, come on through. And you go to this conference, and somebody in a suit approaches you, and they're like, hey, I see you're starting to grow your chicken. Would you like to become a grower farmer for Tyson, for example, or Pilgrim's Pride, or Purdue? Insert your industrial chicken. The incentive is that you don't gotta, you don't have to focus on anything other than growing the food itself. We'll give you, um, um, all this stuff, right? All these resources, and you just get to do the fun part of farming. That's the incentive. It's similar to how hip hop artists sign a deal, with a label. They go in, or any artist for that matter. They go in. Some executive reaches out and like, hey, let's blow you up. You need more resources. Let's give you everything you need. That way you can just focus on making music. That's the beauty of it, right? But then you get in and you find out you don't own your dang masters, and you can't actually make money outside of this manipulative, controlling machine that is the label. So it's very similar in the farming sector, where you are kind of the pawn that's used to grow the food, but that's not even the worst part. You are put on what is called a tournament system. And a tournament system is essentially Purdue and Tyson's and any big chicken, industrial chicken's way of ranking the growers on these contracts, these which are usually like NDA, right? Why do we do that? Why do we make farmers sign NDAs? Well, because they don't want the public to know what's really going on here. So, and I guess the contracts are more so a naturally more private thing anyway. So I can't be that mad at that, to be fair. But let's talk about the fact that they are on this tournament system. So what is a tournament system? You got a farmer who is growing chicken for Tyson, and there's 9 other farmers growing their chicken for Tyson, and you got these 10 farmers that are growing chicken for Tyson. Well, Tyson's actually going to make sure that they're making a good, you know, m- a big wide margin of money, right? Making sure they're maximizing profit on those 10 farmers. So what they'll do is they will rank them, and those that grow the best chicken get to stick around. They get their contract renewed. Those that are growing the worst chicken get kicked to the curb. Boom. But as we just said, farmers are landlords. They got bills to pay. So what ends up happening is that they take out a loan. They erect all of these facilities. They got the feed, right, the feed towers and the housing for the chickens. That's theirs. That's in their name. They're in charge of paying that off. But they can't profit if Tyson just decides to back out. So let's say that Tyson cuts 5 of the 10 farmers on the tournament system. Well, now what do you have going on? Bankruptcy, because you can't pay the bills anymore. And that's the crux of the issue of what we're currently doing. When you lose your independency, right? You lose out on the inputs, right? Because that's what Tyson is doing, for example, or any of these big chicken places. They go in and they control the inputs, right? So they own they own the chickens, they own the chicken feed. You just own the stuff that houses that, which is kind of the problem. But anyways, when you lose that dependence, that independency, and you no longer control the inputs of your farm, you are at the will and graces of your owner. It's the same exact way for the average consumer. If we don't take over agency and autonomy over our own food, that is, we kind of know where it comes from, right? We are at the graces and the will of those that prepare our food. I'll say this and then I'll move on to the next thing. Every morsel of food, to some degree, is going to require preparation, right? I put it this way. Think about food, just the essence of food. Think about it. No, seriously, think about. Let's slow down, slow down, slow down. Even if you're eating, put the chip down. Stop. Put the pretzel down. You're eating pretzels. Put those down. Think about it. How many ready-to-eat foods exist in nature? And I mean ready to eat. You grow the plant, right? It's ready to eat right now. How many? How many foods? I'm going to be honest. I can think of apple. I can think of grapes. I've kind of stopped there. I can't think of too many ready to eat foods in nature. If you guys are more creative than me, list it here in the chat. What are some ready to eat foods? No, seriously. This is what helped me understand a lot of fruits. Okay, let me be more specific with the question. How many ready to eat foods? Depends on if you're the liver king, right? How many ready to eat foods that you can eat right when they're grown that give you the optimal amount of bioavailability? That is, that it actually delivers the nutrients that it actually possesses. Usually, I'm just saying, usually, if you want to actually take advantage of the nutrients a food possesses, you have to cut, crack, peel, soak, or cook it. That is the very essence of food, right? The prerequisite of it is preparation. That is, we usually have to prepare our food. You don't prepare food, you don't eat. There are very few things you've eaten in the last couple weeks that did not undergo some form of preparation, regardless of if it was 1 step or 37 steps. The issue we're facing in America is that we have relinquished up the preparation of our food to those that don't see food as food. And because of that, chronic disease is our portion. It's just how things are. That's what we say. It's just how it is. It's just what we do. But the more agency and the more involved you are, that means the more you can apply your own hands on the preparation of your food from step 0 to step 37 or 40 or whatever the case is, I'd be willing to bet that you are a lot healthier than the average American. Okay, you guys have schooled me. I feel silly. Dubs is like, raw fish. Wild Chicory says, raw asparagus is awesome. I'm embarrassed. Mother Oat says, lettuce. Good point. Fair, fine. There's a lot of fruits and vegetables. Apple, blueberries, bananas, no. Oh, you do have to get them down. Veronica. Yeah. Veronica says, yeah, you have to get them down. Is that technically a step of preparation? Wait. Bananas, you have to peel. You have to peel those. Those aren't ready to eat. That's preparation. That's processing. That's preparation. Seeing ooh, mushrooms. I guess that's a good one. Mushrooms are very variable in their nutrient delivery, if I'm not mistaken. Milk. Fair. Is milking a cow considered food prep? Right? When people are like, oh, so food prep is a myth. This is how screwed up we are in America about food prep. we think food prep is cooking a bunch of food on Sunday and then storing it in the fridge in plastic tins for the rest of the week. That's like what food prep is. But food prep is everything. It's literally the entire point of eating food. You can't eat if you don't prep. You don't eat. It's a prerequisite. Preparation is a prerequisite to eating food. That's funny. But yeah, no. If that is your version of food prep though, and it works for you, I'm mad at it. However, there's some stuff going on around. Okay, I'm gonna speak a little anecdotally. I don't have the science for this. Saying that up front. There's some stuff going around about how long food should actually be refrigerated. I typically don't like to eat leftovers past 2 days. On the 3rd day, I'm like, this tastes like a refrigerator. I don't want to eat this anymore. So if food prep works for you in that regard, in the tin cans, right? Or not the tin cans, the tin plastic, whatever. If that works for you, keep doing it. But maybe put it in a freezer. I don't know. Maybe that'll help. Will it get freezer burn? I don't know. I'm just super happy that I don't have that problem. But I do know that our system is set up in such a way that we don't have as much time to prep our food as we'd like because we got jobs. We got 9 to 5. So why do you guys think I'm streaming on a Saturday? Because y'all ain't at work. Some of y'all at work, and you better get off your phone. But most of us, we got jobs. It's like, bro, this sucks. I don't got time to food prep. That's like a thing. But I would say your version of preparation matters at that point, right? I'll give an example. I lied. I said earlier that I'd move on past this point, but I'm still on it. My version of preparation, this is my secret. I love doing this. When I go shopping, right? I get all my veggies or whatever. Sometimes that's from the grocery store. Sometimes that's from the farmer's market, right? We're still trying to build out healthy food access, right? We're figuring it out. I take my food. I take out my glass containers. Let's say I got red cabbage. Let's say I got carrots. Let's say I got sweet potato. I cut all of it right there. And then I put it in the glass containers and then I store it. That removes a huge step of preparation that's required when I actually do go to eat the food. I no longer have to cut it. Do you know how long it takes me to cut? Bro, I'd be on Top Shelf. They'd be like, time's up, hands up. Top Chef, right? The cooking show. Everybody's like, time's up, hands up. Usually you get those little cheaters. They're still plating their plate and stuff. Bro, I just be not placing my food in a pan, bro. I can't compete. Don't time me when I'm cooking, bro. It's going to take me a minute. Back up. Back up. You see me taking this test? Back up. I couldn't be on nobody's cooking show. I'm too slow. Okay. Guys, I'm having an issue here. I've been wanting to look at the poll that we set. I don't know how to do it. Like, how do you stream? What even is streaming, bro? This is so weird. 67 Android. So I'll just do the math. It's 23. No. Is that 33 or 23? My brain's doing that one thing where you don't do math right. Wait, why can't I see this poll? Seriously. Oh, okay. Oh, a lot of Android users. Yeah, it's 33. Duh, dude. 67% you guys are Android users. Well, Android, first off, regardless of how us Apple folks like to think, we think we're the cool kids on the block. Android is still the most popular phone system worldwide. Androids are beating Apple by a huge margin. And I used to love my Android, but then all my friends got iPhones. And now I can't FaceTime people. Johnny, what is this phone? What do you have? I'm the one with the green bubbles in the group chats. They're like, we got to kick Johnny out. So I used to work at Taco Bell. Yeah, we're veering off. So what? So I used to work at Taco Bell. I was being paid $8 an hour. Hey, Jarrell, I was getting paid $8 an hour. All right. This was back in 2017 in Illinois. So the minimum wage was about $8, and I was in the suburbs too, not the city. So I was getting paid $8 an hour. I'd go in, and I was a cashier, and I was a dang decent cashier. But you don't really make tips or anything like that. It was just literally just $8 an hour. So every day I'd go home smelling like chalupa grease and Cinnabons. It was a crazy job. So I'm making the tacos, I'm doing the thing, I'm taking the money, I'm cashiering, I'm doing all this stuff, making $8 an hour. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna buy me an iPhone. So I started saving my money, and I saved up $700. I took $700 in my little cash account, right? And I went over there to Boost Mobile, and I bought me the iPhone 7, which I think was the latest iPhone at that time. So, mind you, I had an Android before that. I didn't even have social media, right? All my friends are on Snapchat and FlapWap and Facebook and Book LinkedIn and all this stuff, all these social media, Insta chats, it's Instagrams. And I'm over here like, oh, I want to play. So I did something funny. I'm used to calling my friends. They're used to hearing me like regular on the voice, but then they all got like their cool FaceTime or whatever. They're always FaceTiming. So as soon as I got my phone, I took their number and I FaceTimed them without telling them that I had an iPhone. And they absolutely flipped. They're like, what is this? There's no way you bought an iPhone. Is this an iPad? You're lying. There's no way. So I went back to high school. I had this super cool phone. I'm back. I'm with the cool kids. Got my iPhone. And then everybody got an iPhone 8. And then they got the other iPhones that came out. And I still had the iPhone 7. And that's when I realized at the tender age of 7 to 18, the freaking iPhone game is a rat race. It's the representation of America's rat race. And I don't want to play. I still have an iPhone. And I'm still behind. I never caught back up. I swear. I never caught back up. I get made fun of my little thing. Everybody's on 3 cameras now. I'm keeping my 2. This thing is so small, fits in the palm of my hand. Everybody else's iPhone is like so much bigger. But I'm not joining the rat race. You want to know why? Because mine is paid off. Yeah. Let's talk about depreciating assets. Yeah. Let's talk about that. All right. Sorry. That's my fault. Sorry. Back on focus. All right, let's keep going here. Sorry. Okay. What are you guys talking about? Hey, if you just got in chat, tell me where you're from. Tell me where you're from. Tell me where you're tuned in from, where you're watching from. They need to make the iPhone mini series again. Yeah, Mother Roads, I prefer a smaller phone as well. Right, LOL. iPhone be slowing down the older models. Yeah, they're grifting me. You guys should see my iPhone. It's like, okay, I'm just going to the settings app. Why is it taking me 11 seconds? It's slow. I don't need FaceTime. I meet up in person. I'm with the painter here. Yeah, I feel that. Okay, so 57 you guys voted Android. Okay, this is the other thing I'm going to put in chat. Another poll. Another poll. How do you do polls? Here, let's look at this sad farmer as I figure out how to do another poll. God, I gotta live stream more often. Members only live stream. No. Have you guys seen? Okay, wait. Let me get your opinion. Let me get your opinion on this. Let me get your opinion real quick. Have you guys seen on YouTube? You guys are all avid YouTube watchers, I assume. Right now, YouTube's doing this thing where some of your favorite creators, they create a members only video and it's suggested to you even though you're not a member. So it takes up space on your recommendation page, but you need it to be a member to watch it. How do you guys feel about that? I generally feel like it has a negative connotation, so I choose not to participate, but they're pushing it on the back end too. YouTube's like, members only video, perhaps? I'm like, I don't know how my subscribers feel about that. Ivan's like, don't do it. Bob Freeman says, well, it's better than an ad, in my opinion. Yeah, how do you guys feel about that? I think that's interesting. Coding, what the heck? It's random for sure. So this is back on track. Let's just be very, very frank right now. The problem with, let's pick up where we left off. The problem with our farmers losing money is that we technically need our farmers to protect our food system because they're growing our food. Duh, Johnny, duh. I say technically because it's on paper that they do, but in actuality, the majority of the stuff they grow isn't really going to food. It's being turned into Ritz crackers. That's the whole point why we're here. It's getting turned into high fructose corn syrup. That's why it's this. This isn't food. There's no nutrients in this. We take out so many of the nutrients. We got to refortify it with some synthetic nutrients. What do you guys think enriched flour is? There's nothing in that flour anymore. All of the components that made it natural is gone. All of the things that actually fed you is out of there, right? We grind it to an absolute point of nothingness, and then we add back niacin, reduced iron, thiamine, mononitrate, vitamin B1, riboflavin, if you're me, right? It's like, bro. So that's technically our food. So when America goes and says, we are doing this, we're doubling down on pesticides and chemicals, we're doubling down because we need to protect our food system. What they're telling you is that they need to protect the processed food system. Every cash crop we talked about, wheat, soybean, and corn, it's just going here. Oh, you want the proof? It literally says it. Enriched wheat flour, cash crop, soybean, vegetable oils, right? Seed oils, cash crop, right? And then high fructose corn syrup that comes from corn, our favorite cash crop. So what happens when our farmer loses money because of this system that's slowly deteriorating before what I believe will be an upcoming revolution? What happens? The government bails them out. The government pays for it. The government bails them out. It sucks. You want to know why? Because it's our money. It's the taxpayer cheese. It's you. It's you watching right now. It's me. You know how many farmers we paid for? How many American farming systems we've propped up just because of bailouts? A bailout, if you don't know, is the government saying, "Oh, we've done something wrong here. We screwed up. Throw a lot of money at it until it gets back to normal." Because we got to, make sure that we sustain the food system, which again isn't the food system, it's the processed food system. And so we go to pay for that out of our pockets, and we're propping up the very system that doesn't align with our own consumer values. We don't really want Ritz crackers and processed foods and cookies. We know it's bad for us. Our consumer value is like pasture raised and natural things, non chemical ridden food. Those are your consumer values. Generally speaking, humans have an affinity for naturalness. So those things that are actually truly more natural, we tend to want. That's what we want. So that's why we all have an aversion to glyphosate and chemical based agriculture, because it just isn't natural. And we can have a debate all day long about GMO, whether it's harmless or not, whether it's harmful or not, or pesticides, glyphosate, whether it's harmful or not. But the bottom line is, why do we have to use them? No one really wants them. You want to know how I know no one wants them? Because we wouldn't have bankrupt farmers if we wanted them, because we'd be shelling money to them. But no, instead, the food system has captured our dollar because majority of what's in the grocery store is processed food, and we end up paying for that by proxy, if not by need or want. And because of that, they capture our dollar and the cycle continues. And now we got to bail them out. They're getting our money on the front and the back end. It's so bad. But that's why we have the conversation about our pasture raising farmers, our truly free range, like our farmers that are doing things in a way that is actually sustainable. We call it regenerative agriculture. Well, fun fact, regenerative agriculture was the only form of agriculture until about 1950s here in America. And that's kind of what we're getting at here. That's the entire point. So ranted there a little bit. Let's see what ends up happening. What's really going on? Yeah. Then we got to talk about development, all these other problems.
Thank you for your patronage.
Thank you, Dubs. What do you think about the carnivore movement? Do you guys want me to talk about carnivore? Thank you so much, Dubs. Carnivore movement is a very interesting movement, and I'll tell you why. Right now, what America's observing is a huge overcorrection in many forms. For example, veganism, if you guys have not noticed, kind of had a window of popularity here in America, where it became very normal, right? In the early 2000s, we didn't really say the word vegan that much. We said vegetarian, right? But then all of a sudden, we started to conflate vegetarian with vegan, and it had a huge, wide movement. If you guys are anything like me, then you have been influenced by this movement, and or have friends that have been influenced by this movement. But let me show you something right now. Google Trends tracks the popularity of a lot of search terms. What happens when we search veganism? Veganism as a topic. And then let's go to since 2004. This is the time that I want to call the vegan era. Around the pandemic, we've seen this huge rise in veganism, and we see this huge popular acceptance, right, of veganism. Dubs, you really got me going here. Good for you. Thanks for the $2, by the way. What ends up happening is that before this period, right, we kind of have vegetarianism kind of be the popular thing. Like, for some reason, I don't know if it was just word association or advertisement pushing this, but for some reason we attributed the word healthy to like plant-based diet, vegetarianism. I don't know where that came from, but that evolved into veganism. Well, why did it evolve into veganism? Okay, well, Johnny, now you got to show me something else here. Let me show you guys something. I'm going to show you what I call the vegan web. Everything you've ever done, or anyone who has ever seen a Netflix documentary that has said, hey, Should probably be eating, a plant-based diet. It's the best diet. They are a part of the vegan web. And I want to show this to you guys. If I can find it. Vegan web. Because veganism had a time, right? Why do you think that it spiked during the pandemic? And then I'm going to tell you what I actually think about carnivorism. It's all connected. It all plays together. Veganism had a time, right? Okay, this is what we're going to do. We're actually just going to go to the video that has it. 2 seconds. I got to do it. This all makes sense. It's going to make it connect. I got to talk about it. If you know any vegan friends, any vegetarian friends, whatever, show them this. Clip this and show them this. Because this does a number on the American paradigm on... okay, here we go. Yeah. Good for you, Dubs. You donate, give me go all the way off track. Good for you. You got what you wanted. You happy? Okay, let's keep talking. Here we go. Where is it? Boom, found it. All right, that was a lot. Okay, if you guys have not seen my video on meat, I worked with Dr. Kinberry. We collaborated, and yeah, you can find it. Just put no lab coat required meat. Red meat. Just Google it. It'll come up. Watch it after the stream though. Yeah, everybody came here for farming and that stuff. Yeah, well, all right. Well, now we got to talk about this. Can we hear this if I hit...
Short series comparing twins that eat vegan or omnivore diets. It heavily promotes consolidation with anti-meat. This is Game Changers. You may have seen it, the documentary alone, Ace, right?
Thumbs up. Can you guys hear it? Love Dr. Berry. Yeah, Miss Cat Mac. He's literally made a lot of us a lot healthier. Can you guys hear the audio? Tell me if you can't. And then I'll give you my opinion on carnivorism because this video doesn't talk about it. Can you guys hear it when I play?
Or organization may still be valid.
Good.
Even though they're under the veil of bias. By definition, the American Cancer Society has a conflict of interest, therefore is biased, right? Now, that doesn't mean that everything that comes out of this organization is inherently wrong, but we gotta talk about U-bias. U-bias stands for unwavering belief in a solution. I just made that up last week. Now, I present this argument to say that it kind of goes for every money tie I'm about to mention. Netflix's Game Changers. You may have seen it. The documentary alone made me go vegan for 12 days. I'm not kidding. It's all about these big, strong, plant-based dudes, and of course, it's littered with anti-meat ideas and theories. It's directed by Luis Sahoyos, an environmentalist who's also put out 4 animal welfare movies. It's funded by the Quinn Foundation. The Quinn Foundation is an animal rights grant makers organization committed to preserving life and the vegan lifestyle. It's also funded by the Vought Foundation, an animal welfare organization whose president is vegan. It keeps going. You Are What You Eat, a Netflix short series comparing twins that eat vegan or omnivore diets. It heavily promotes the vegan lifestyle. Unapologetically. It's produced by Samara Stein, head of the Oceanic Preservation Society. It's also directed by Sahoyos and produced by Kyle Vaught, who, you guessed it, is the president of the Vought Foundation, which donated funds to Stanford, a university that has an entire arm of animal welfare researchers. Their motto, good well-being is good science. And of course, the You Are What You Eat film was filmed at that university, in which one of the professors there is Dr. Christopher Gardner, who's all about environmentalism and animal welfare. He even makes an appearance in the show himself. You know who else makes an appearance? Dr. Michael Greger, vegan doc all about that animal welfare. He also happens to be the only scientific consultant on the entire Game Changers documentary. What the hell? A doc on Netflix that's so blatantly anti-meat and misinformed that you almost want to eat more meat. It's directed by vegans Keegan Kunn and Kip Anderson. Mr. Anderson is also the founder of the Animal United movement, which you probably can tell what that is about. What the Health is sponsored by Dr. Brown, Shoshana Cows, Silas Rail, Matthew Eden, A Well-Fed World, and so many others I don't feel like Googling. Moreover, every talking head doctor on What the Health is a vegan. So Johnny, why does it matter?
Okay, why did I bring that up? There's nothing, if you follow a vegan lifestyle, there's nothing wrong with you. It's just the idea of influence and following the money. I promise this is going somewhere. I have friends that have gone vegan because they watched one of those documentaries. I fell for it when I was just a impressionable college kid. I watched what was it, Game Changers, and I was like, ooh, big strong dudes. I want to be big and strong. They're eating plant-based diets. I can do that. And I did it for 12 days. I woke up on the 13th day. I want some dang eggs. I went to eat eggs and I was like, screw this life. But I have friends that stuck with it because you know what they watched? They watched What the Health. So it's not that the veganism is a problem. It's the fact that it is an ism. And an ism is only an ism because it is connected to a belief, right? That's what an ism is. Let's look at exactly what an ism is. Define ism, suffix. Ism, a noun representing a specific belief, right? So that is unfortunate to develop as your ism now because veganism is something that stems from the internal beliefs of yourself, right? You become a vegan. It becomes your religion, right? But it's an unfortunate religion if you have it borrowed from a Netflix documentary. If you are that impressionable, in which I'm talking about myself here, right? And you got influenced by a Netflix documentary, you no longer really have, right? And that's nothing. It's an inherent problem because you need to know for yourself. And all I did was follow the money because even if everything that came from those documentaries was 100% true and not misleading, fine. But it isn't necessarily even the veganism movement. It's just the people that were behind it. They were actually just trying to preserve more animals in the world. They don't believe in killing animals. They just don't, right? It's the animal welfare web. Treat animals better. That means like literally don't kill them. Literally don't slaughter animals and the world will be a better place. I will plant my flag there. I disagree. I think animals offer a lot of nutritive benefits that I'm not interested in going without, me personally. So what we ended up getting, if we're looking at this graph here, is this huge push because all of those Netflix documentaries I just showed you, we had the opportunity to watch them in the 2020 era, right? The pandemic era. Not only that, but everybody was thinking about their fitness, right? If you were anything like my suburban town around that time, then you were hitting the park district and you were walking laps around the park. And a lot of people were doing that. Because we were trying to stay healthy. Well, what happens when you try to stay healthy? Well, you Google ways to stay healthy. Oh, you find veganism. Oh, it's associated with health, and boom, there you go. I'm not saying that it's unhealthy. I'm just saying we got to have a conversation about the nuance. So that was during the pandemic. What happens? Well, there was a lot of influence, but when you develop a belief from a conglomerate that isn't like truly interested in like what you have going on, they just kind of want to push this narrative, and it's not an internal belief. It's not sustainable. So a lot of people drop off veganism, the interest dies, and I believe that's what we're kind of observing right now. In the last year or so, the term has been a lot less in the mainstream media. As you can see by this graph here, it's used a lot less. It's talking about a lot less. People aren't checking up for it as much as we were during the pandemic era. So what are we looking at now? Well, carnivorism is kind of the overcorrection of that, right? You're going to see some documentaries for carnivorism. You're going to see the same exact thing, and you're going to see this kind of overcorrection. Now, I eat meat, so I am biased. But what I think about the carnivore conversation is that eat meat. Just don't call it an ism. Why does it have to be our core belief or why does it have to be our core beliefs or our religion? Why can't we just say I eat carnivore or omnivore? Why does it have to be an ism? Why do we have to label things, right? I eat healthy, right? That's my thing. Plants are good for you. Meat is good for you. Both of them require different preparations in order to make you healthy. That's just how I see it. There's room for both. As divisive as I'm tempted to be right now, as everyone else who comments on this stuff is, I just can't do it. I'm not your controversial take guy. But I will plant my flag and say, eat meat. I do believe meat belongs in the human diet. And I love animals just as much. That's why I think we should steward them well, right? We shouldn't density farm them and cram them in places and use them as commodities. But I'm not going to sit here and act like I don't want my freaking B12, to come from a ruminant animal. I want my B12 to come from the cow, not this pill form that I have to take because I'm on a vegan diet. So I think you need to eat meat, and I think the vegan diet is inherently problematic because I don't know how easy it is to get B12 on that kind of diet. Yeah, I don't know. It's complex because then you got some people that are just like, I eat fish, right, but not red meat or whatever the case is. Red meat has its own associations. I know people who like their stomachs don't do well with pork, but it's like, have you ever had pasture raised pork? I don't know. It's so much nuance. Dubs, I hope you're happy. Okay. Oh man, I just think there's room for some nuance there. I'm sorry. I don't know how else to put it. Did that help? Veronica, are you happy? You said I needed to talk about that. Are you happy? Yeah, why get rid of an entire food group? I guess is all I'm saying, you know? I think that's crazy. And we love tribalism right now. Tribalism's kind of our thing here in America. So you're gonna get advocates that are for a certain thing, and they're going to be very, very loud. But I really want to show you guys that graph because I thought it was funny that around the pandemic area, veganism has this push from animal welfare, and then it starts to die off. And now, carnivorism is here. Which, by the way, if you don't like plants, is more power to you. Meat's got plenty of stuff for you. I'm not saying either diet is wrong. I just think that, yeah, there it is. Freezer full of pigs raised over the winter. Wow, Shikari, where you at?
Thank you for your patronage.
Dubs, thank you so much for your $2. Dubs, this is going to be great for the channel. Thank you so much. Freezer full of pigs raised over the winter. Wow, Shikari, I'm coming over. Where are you? I need the pig. Guys, when people donate, thumbs the heck up out of it. Show them that you would donate, but you're going to live vicariously through them by giving them a thumbs up. Make them feel special because we support those that support the channel. And I'm running out of words. I'm getting to that point of the stream. You guys are in the deep end. We're in the deep end, but that's why we do it on Saturday. So Trump has more to say. What else is in the executive order? Ensuring an adequate supply of elemental phosphorus and glyphosate-based herbicides is thus crucial to the national security and defense, including food supply security, which is essential to protecting the health and safety of Americans, nonetheless, the United States. Oh crap, I dropped on my Ritz crackers. Oops. Okay. Sorry. I got to keep talking about the Ritz crackers. Otherwise, the thumbnail of this video makes no sense. I don't know why I did that. It's so stupid. What is the point of talking about Ritz crackers? There is a point. I'm making it right now. So this is the food supply security that the executive order is talking about, the thing that came straight from the White House that's doubling down on our glyphosate usage here in America. We're actually talking about this. This is our jam right now. So yeah, what I mean by that is the Ritz crackers and all of their famous components, right? The thing that you get when you go in the middle of your grocery store, you just shop the middle aisles, right? That's what you get. Your processed foods. That's the system that we're trying to prop up, right? So when we say food supply security, what's really being secured here? What are we doing to secure our food supply? It's called the Defense Production Act. The Defense Production Act is what authorizes and protects the industry that produces the product and the name of national security. So, as you guys do know, America's playing around with wartime right now. Some talking heads say we're in war. Some talking heads say what war? Some say we're somewhere in the middle. All I know is this executive order says in the midst of our wartime, we can authorize, which basically means we're going to grant almost a form of immunity to the domestic production of glyphosate-based products. What the White House is saying is to double down and increase the production of the in-house chemicals that we need to prop up our cash crops. And our cash crops are going to this kind of food and biofuels and 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 cows and chickens grown in a way that we don't like. When you put an animal on a feedlot, when you put a cow on a feedlot and it's eating its feed, it's grain-based feed, what do we think that comes from? Well, it comes from the GMO corn that we grew, right? That's what the US is actually protecting. A system in which the citizens don't actually truly value. We value it because it cancels hunger. It on the meat side and the food and the animal feed side, because this doesn't cancel hunger, right? So if it goes to animal feed, that is, it cancels hunger, right? It gets us from hungry to no longer hungry, right? That's what chicken does, right? Um, or that's what cow's meat does, right? Just in general, the animal food, it gets us full, right? But a lot of us that are more health conscious, we prefer to be full in a way that aligns with our peace of mind, which is growing things more naturally, not giving our animals pharmaceuticals and improper diets and cramming them into density living. Now, I'm not going to sit here and act like that kind of food is escapable here in America. That is, if you're doing well, you're probably eating like myself, right? I try to eat meat that's strictly coming from pasture-raised farmers in which I've looked them eye to eye, right? That's kind of the goal. But sometimes I live in Chicago. I want to eat out with friends. How can I focus on my plate to be nutrient dense, right? But I still know that the moment I step out of my home, I somewhat have to participate in the system in which I abhor. And I think that's the story for a lot of us. It's unfortunate, but that's the reality, right? That's the unfortunate reality. So, why is the White House going all in? Again, it's wartime. That's kind of the idea. This is very similar to something that has happened before, and I want to talk about it here. Um, and it's going to tie everything together. I'll get there in a sec here. But if you guys want to know who Bayer is, and if you guys want to, let's switch here over to talk about glyphosate. Yeah, I told you this live stream is going to be a layman's masterclass on what's going on in the food system. So I got to talk about glyphosate here. Yeah, I feel that too, Nathan. I just want my food grown in a way that actually has nutrients. So Life says the other day I saw a news clip that claimed there's extract that they give to farm chickens, I think in oil, and it's derived from petroleum. But Google says no edibles come from petrol. It's wrong. Um, oh, I couldn't define what they were talking about. Yeah, yeah. I want to look into that. So Life. It's a pretty jacked up food system, but you almost have like, what do you call? When somebody's like, you didn't volunteer to do this. I voluntold you, right? What they're saying is like, instead of you taking up the choice and using your own volition to participate in this thing, I'm just gonna make you participate in this thing. That's kind of how the food system works on the conventional side here in America, right? You don't necessarily have a choice. If you pay taxes, you're going to have to bail out those farmers that's growing the food in the way that you don't want it, right? They're voluntelling us. They're not allowing us the volition if you don't take up the independency that we are encouraging. Anyways, so who's being supported here? So if you guys don't know, Bayer is the company behind Roundup. They were the company behind Roundup. They were bought out by, Monsanto was the company behind Roundup. And they were bought out by a German-based company called Bayer. Bayer is the number one moneymaker of glyphosate, right? They run the glyphosate game. They run the pesticide game, right? If we're buying Roundup, we're buying from Bayer, German-based company. So what's going on here? Well, a lot of what was going on in the news from Roundup was that, yes, Ivan, Ritz crackers. So a lot of what was going on in the news is that glyphosate is safe, right? It's safe. That's what was produced. That was the conclusion drawn from this paper. This paper came out in 2000. As of December 4th last year, this paper has been retracted. This paper was made in-house by the people that own freaking glyphosate. So there was a huge conflict of interest. They were going around using this academic white paper, and they were saying, our stuff is safe. Look at the studies that we did. Our stuff is safe. Continue to use glyphosate. You'll be just fine. But the NIH was like, wait a minute. This paper was done in-house. They just canceled this science. They said it's null and void. But the problem is, for 25 freaking years, Monsanto was able to run around with this white paper and convince everyone from the EPA to the buyers of the stuff, to the farmers, to everyone, that it's just a harmless chemical, right? This, as well as a whole lot of other papers. What we have to understand is that academic white paper is not immune to capture. Academia, the world of academia, those that walk around in suits wrapped in lab coats, they got their PhD, they're highly educated, they can spit out some stuff that's just as invalid as if I was just to give you a whole lot of misinformation on this stream, right? We're playing the same game, right? Just trying to share information. But in the same way that they can have a conflict of interest, somebody can be paying them, it's just a little bit buttoned up though, because they have a PhD. So it's like we take this accredited individual, we make them do this science, we say, hey, put us in a favorable position. The paper comes out, and now what? The company can say on an anecdotal level. Anecdotal means kind of hearsay, he say, she say. Anecdotal means, hey, I haven't been harmed by glyphosate. It's just fine. It's safe, right? That's what anecdotal means. Now they can say that. But now, when this paper's done, they can take the paper and they can say it on a scientific level. Right, so it's no longer anecdotal. What they're saying is we have this this research. The word escapes me. What type of research? It's not. Help me out. It's not freaking epidemiological. It's, you guys know the word I'm trying to say. It's losing me. But what they're saying is that on the science side, now we got proof that it's fine. But it was retracted on December 4th. Did you guys watch this video? So this video was a huge piece in what I believe made people take a second look at this paper that came out. So this was huge when it was retracted. It was like, whoa, what the heck? But this was retracted in December. This video by Veritasium, exposing farmers why they can't illegally plant their own seeds. You guys should watch that after this if you haven't already. But this video exposed Monsanto, who is over here, and exposed the GMO system, the pesticide system, a lot of which we're talking about right now. It spelled it out for the layman, and it also exposed some of the nasty, nefarious practices of Monsanto prior to them being bought out. And Bayer, of course, just kind of has to pick up and take the bite and take the blame for what a lot of Monsanto did. But this video was a crucial video because it got tens of millions of views, and I believe it reached up into the world of academia and allowed the folks of the NIH to look closer into this paper and say, I don't know, there's a conflict of interest. And it was since retracted. The power of YouTube. Thank you guys for watching. That is what we can do. We can make impact. Number 13. 100,000 people sued the living bottom line out of Monsanto. And this was way prior to last year. So this is from, so you just, again, I'm citing my sources kind of, sort of, because I'm not putting them in the description. I don't think I'm gonna do that. But Health Policy Watch, from the reporters there, they do like global news. They reported on this, and I got the court papers right here too. Like, obviously, I always check my sources. But anyways, in the court papers, Bayer says it faces claims more than 100,000 plaintiffs across the country seek to hold Monsanto liable for not warning users that glyphosate, the active ingredient in Roundup, causes cancer. It causes cancer. What? So for those of you that don't know, IARC, they are a branch of the WHO. The WHO is the World Health Organization. They keep the world healthy, right? It's in the name. That's their whole goal, right? Right. So they have the IARC, and the IARC is in charge of going out and testing these different chemicals, and they got toxicologists on the team, and they're like, hey, this thing causes cancer, this thing doesn't, yada, yada, yada. The IARC is in charge of the people that had the world in a frenzy when they said that red meat causes cancer. Oh Lord, was that a bonanza? I can go on about that all day. But anyways, they said glyphosate causes cancer, right? And I was like, okay, interesting. Glyphosate causes cancer. America's number one pesticide. So they started suing the absolute pants off of Monsanto because a lot of farmers and residential users of this herbicide felt betrayed because here it is, you're propping up this thing, and you didn't tell me that I'm at the risk of cancer. You didn't put that on the bottle, right? So a lot of people were pissed off. Over 100,000 people are suing the heck out of them, right? So this ended up in court, obviously. So this actually landed in the federal court because the federal court needed to make a decision. This is getting judicial. Sorry about that. But basically what ended up happening was there was an act. There was an act called, is it this one? FIFRA? Yeah. So there was an act, FIFRA, that basically allows EPA, which are the people that oversee the labeling standards of products. They say, hey, whatever they say, it can kind of just go, right? EPA has the final say, right? They're the principal of the industry. So Bayer, Monsanto, they turn in their product. EPA is like, cool, this looks good, the label's fine, right? That's what this means. So since the label is fine, they get all these lawsuits, and now they are going through the court system, and it reaches the federal court, and the federal court has to make a decision. Is it that what the EPA say is final, or is it that these plaintiffs have a point and we should pay them out because they're suing the pants off of them? That is to say, does it cause cancer? And if it does, is the EPA liable for that? Like, is Monsanto and Bayer liable for that? If they are, let's pay out these plaintiffs. If not, this just got to federal court for no reason. And what did the federal court say? As applied to this case, the labeling requirements imposed by Missouri's failure to warn law are preempted by FIFRA. In other words, we just sued them for nothing. It got to the federal court, and they said, yeah, there's something in place for this. The EPA said it's fine. The EPA word is final. We're going with what the EPA says. So the plaintiffs and the lawsuits, they came to be nothing. Okay. Interesting. It's a crash course. Yeah, Nathan says chemicals and monocrop. Easy. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Ivan says, yep, eventually all those farm lands are not going to grow a thing until they take the time to heal the terrain. Oof. Yeah, exactly. I actually just asked a ecologist. His name is Jahi Chappelle, Dr. Jahi Chappelle. He's going to be in a No Lab video coming up. And I asked him, if we take all of the factory farms and these cash crop lands, right, the things that we're degrading the soil of, spraying the fertilizer on and the pesticide-ridden land, right? If we take this land and we just leave it alone, we stop messing with it, and we allow nature to take over, can we recover it? And he said, some of it, yes. Some of it we'll have to be a little bit more active with, right? So what they found was, he shared a study with me. All of this, again, it would be coming out in a video, but yeah, the beautiful, I thought it was so profound. He was like, yeah, a lot of that, if you just stop touching, it'll come back over time, right? Some other stuff we may have to intervene, right? But I found it so interesting that nature is still like the end all be all determining factor. Like you can't beat nature, I guess is what I'm trying to say. You just can't beat it. And I think that's so beautiful. I think it's really cool. I think that's awesome. Um, it can come back, right? It can fight back. Regeneration, right? Organic matter, increasing nutrients in soil. It can come back. We just got to stop messing with it. I have hope on that. I have hope in that. So, more from the White House and the call for this double down on pesticides. The White House says, I accordingly find that consistent with the Department of the Interior designation, elemental phosphorus is those were some big words, is a scarce material that is critical to national defense and security. So this is what we're talking about. We're talking about something that the White House is doubling down on, giving immunity to in the name of defense and security. Watch this. I'm going somewhere with this. National defense and security. Our nation's inadequate elemental phosphorus, which is just a prerequisite ingredient that makes our glyphosate, right? It's putting us at risk. It's putting us at significant risk. Our agricultural needs, right? The threat of domestic scarcity will leave us in a vulnerable, hostile, will leave us vulnerable to hostile foreign actors and pose an imminent threat to military readiness. We need to make pesticides because we need to defend our nation. Military readiness. That is why we are doubling down on pesticides. But as you just seen, it's not that simple. But we get to say that it is. What did we learn? Military readiness now. But before that, it was what? Yield. We need to increase yield so that we can feed the world, or feed the nation. But it's not that simple. But this is really interesting. What do they mean? Sorry, let me draw the bridge this way. We need to double down on pesticides. What are pesticides used on? Cash crops. Where do cash crops end up? Ritz crackers. So what they're really doubling down on is things like enriched flour, right? So consistent with these findings, I find that ensuring robust domestic elemental phosphorus mining and United States-based production of glyphosate-based herbicides is central to economic and national security. What we're saying is that we need to double down on growing these foods like this because we gotta defend the nation, right? So this is immediate federal action, by the way. This just happened in February. The United States remains inadequately equipped and vulnerable. A little bit of repetition there. I do it all the time. That's fine. Anyways, this is very reminiscent of 1941. What was 1941? We were in the middle of wartime, and President Roosevelt, he called the nation's officials, right? So imagine 8 suit-wearing people in a room, and he called it the national, well, I'm blocking the president. That's him. He called it the National Nutrition Conference for Defense. And this was a huge conference on what ended up becoming standardized food here in America. This is so interesting. The impact this had, sorry. Double checking something here. I think I got something wrong. Okay, no. Okay. Got it. Found it. Okay, cool. Just fact checking stuff. Okay, we're good. Okay, so anyways, so Franklin D. Roosevelt, right? So he calls this conference. It's 1941. There's a freaking war going on, right? Let's move him over here. And I thought this was so interesting, right? So he called a conference. Imagine 800, officials. They're wearing their suits. They're super cool, right? They're going into this conference, and the president wasn't able to attend, right? Roosevelt wasn't able to attend. So what ends up happening is that he sends a message, and he sends a messenger. I only regret that because of, oh no, sorry. During these days of stress, the health problems of the military and civilian population are inseparable. Interesting. Total defense demands manpower. Every man and woman in America must have nourishing food. Now, this is right on. He's not wrong, right? We need to have nourishing food as a matter of defense for the nation. But what exactly is he talking about at this time? You see, there's something very interesting going on with this, going on at this time. There is this slow erosion of the traditional way that bread was made, and we started to industrialize the process of making bread. So bread producers started to do this really weird thing where they would take the bread and grind the grain down to an absolute nothingness to where it lost all of its vital factors, all of its life-giving fats and nutrients, right? It'll strip it completely of its of its oils, its nutrients, its B1, its B2, B3, B6, B9, iron, magnesium, zinc, phosphorus, dietary fibers, gone, right? In the name of enriching it later. But before they enriched it, they just took all those, they just grinded it to a nothingness, and that was the food, right? That was the flour. So somebody was like, bruh, we missing some things here. Like, we're missing some nutrients here. The bread became unperishable. So they called a conference, and this term kept being tossed around. The term was enriched bread, which is, oh, our bread is problematic. We should probably enrich it because vitamins just blew up around the time. That means vitamins just became mainstream. Oh, because we beat our bread up, let's add these things called vitamins to it. And that in turn is going to give us the vitality that our nation needs to fight this war, right? Something's wrong. This isn't the right president. Guys, what president is actually on the screen right now? This is killing me. Why is it? I need to get this right. This is killing me. Time out. Sorry. This is the wrong president. This is Theodore, right? Theodore is way too old. Okay, hold on. I need to figure this out. Pulled up the wrong Roosevelt. Didn't I? It's Theodore. That's Theodore. That's Teddy. Yes, that's Teddy. Teddy died before the Second World War. That's not the right Roosevelt. I knew I wasn't losing my dang mind. I pulled up the wrong Roosevelt. What the heck? I'm looking for Franklin. Yeah, Maximo. The wrong Roosevelt's on there. I was going on and I was looking at it. I'm like, this isn't Franklin. Oh man, that's so good. That's rich. That's rich, man. That's the wrong president. So Franklin is the president. Just for reference. Let's get ghetto here real quick. Let's get low budget real quick. Let's get low budget real quick. Franklin. Oh man. This is our president during World War II. Anyways, I guess we can nix him. So that's our president. So that was killing me. Guys, I'm going on. I'm like, this isn't. That was killing me. So he couldn't be at the conference, and he sends out this message. And he's doing something very interesting. He's linking American vitality and American defense, whoa, to this notion of the food that we put in our bodies. I think that's intuitive. That makes sense. That's kind of the entire idea. And the same exact theme is going on here, where we're talking about this thing called military readiness, and we're saying that we need to produce better food in order to do that. Well, back then, it was just, add some vitamins, in which we got this issue where, well, that's not making the most sense. We beat the pulp out the food and then we add back synthetic versions that we just stripped away in the name of nutrition. That doesn't make a lot of sense, but that's what we were doing. And so Russell Wilder, who you don't know, is the secretary of the Mayo Clinic. You know, that first link that pops up when you Google the chronic disease that you're suffering from, or when you got a rash and you look it up on the Mayo Clinic. You look it up on Google. The Mayo Clinic is one of them links, right? One of them scary links that makes you feel like you about to die. Is one of those links, classically speaking, before AI took over the response of your Google searches. So now Russell Wilder, he comes out and he says, "Hey, this was way back then, right in the 40s." He says at the conference, he says, "Many uninformed persons have blamed the food industrialists for our diet problems. The criticisms, in large part, have been unintelligent and grossly unfair. Modern methods of processing were developed before there was knowledge of vitamins." So, what he's saying is that modern methods of processing, what were those back in the 40s? How did we make our bread? I just told you. We just went over it, right? We beat the brakes off of it and we developed nutritively void flour, right? English, flour with zero nutrients. And when I say zero, I quite literally mean zero, right? We took everything out of it. That was how we made our flour back then. It was more shelf stable because we took out everything that was perishable. Fun fact, the things that die are the only things that can give us life. That's why we need to eat perishable foods. And that's the entire idea behind processed foods and shelf stable foods. They're freaking killing us because what doesn't perish in turn can give life. That's kind of the entire point of the cycle, right? So we got this problem with food, and Russell Wilder comes out of the Mayo Clinic. He's like, "Bruh, we didn't know that food needed vitamins. You can't blame the people that were making the food that way. What are you guys? So what? We didn't know. Sorry, like, you can't. It's unfair. We just didn't know. Vitamins just came out. Like, let's just change it. Let's just put the vitamins back in." And thus, the birth of enriched flour. Enriched flour is obesity's #1 star player. Here in America, enriched flour has taken off more legs due to diabetes than stepping on a mime during WW2. We get beat up by enriched flour here in America because enriched flour is often the #1 ingredient on our favorite processed foods. And what we're seeing right now is history repeating itself. Russell Wilder, right? Franklin Roosevelt, they said we need to double down on enriched flour. Right now, what we're seeing is America doing the same exact thing. We need to double down on glyphosate so that we can grow more enriched flour because of military readiness. And this executive order that came from the White House in February, it's very reminiscent of wartime and one of the most popular wars in the world that put industrial bread on the map, and that is enriched flour. So that is the very fascinating repetition of history. So it becomes normal, right? That's what we start doing. We start putting the enriched flour as the main ingredient of our breads. And we get stuff like this coming out. Enriched bread is building a healthier America, right? This came out in 1944, right? And this was the idea that because of the vitamin boom, right? We discover vitamins and vitamins become mainstream culture. We start putting the vitamins in our food, and it makes sense because of the input model that we struggle with here in America. It's the mindless input model. That's how we sum up America's need to only input into the ground to extract back from the ground. Basically, being our own version of Mother Nature, right? And saying, hey, we don't really need what nature is doing and has been doing for years and years and years and millennia. We can just go in and kind of grow our own food, right? Just use the fertilizer, and you get this acutely transactional practice. And because of that, you're not really investing in the soil, the thing that houses the nutrients. You're actually bypassing it and ignoring it. And because of that, you don't really build wealth, right? You are doing a get rich quick scheme, right? Right? How do you really build wealth? You invest. You got to invest your money, right? But investment isn't acutely transactional. It's slow, it's gradual, right? It's chronic, it takes time. We're not participating in that system here. We're about efficiency, we're about yield, we're about speed, we're about profit here in America. Because of that, we are interested in the regenerative model. And because of that, we are on an inflatable sailboat, and we're walking around with cleats in the sailboat. It's like we just made this executive order to double down on a system that we don't even value, and we double down. What we're doing is just doubling down on that input model. What we're saying is that because we are approaching wartime or whatever the case is, and we need more of this problematic food to so-called boost our health, we need to double down on glyphosate. So what do? We protect the domestic production of glyphosate. Well, what are we doing? We're just focusing on input, and we're trying to patch a hole in the sailboat, but we're walking around in cleats. How about we take the cleats off and stop making holes in the farming system in the first place? That's what a government bailout is. We keep having to bail out this problematic system, and then we double down and we send out this executive order, more input, more input, more input. That's the problem. Take the cleats off. We're drowning every single time because the system within itself isn't sustainable. And that's the crux of the agricultural crisis that we're currently observing. It's that we don't have a system that actually appreciates the American dollar, right? The American value is what I mean by that. Of course, it appreciates our dollars. It's trying to profit, trying to make the money. But that's the real issue here. That's the real issue here. So we have this thing where you create these shelf-stable foods, and that is basically where all of our cash crops are going. The number one thing we want is profit here in agriculture. That's what we want. That's why we grow our cash crops. We don't really grow food to feed people. We grow food to make us money. We grow food to export it. We grow food so that it can exist in unperishable foods that we can then spin the narrative and say, this is actually for military readiness. This is actually to increase yields to keep all American families fed, which just isn't actually the case. And that, my friends, is the layman's explanation of the farming crisis that we are currently observing, and it is developing as we speak. This doesn't even account for the farming bill that's current right now. The farm bill is a beast within itself. You guys may have seen some news about that. But I have a question. Where do we go from here? What's next? What do we do when we're walking around in cleats on an inflatable sailboat? What happens when we keep poking holes? What happens when we keep messing with nature from this mindless input model? What happens when we keep doing this over and over and over? Where's the wall? When do we crash? When do we burn? Right? So there's this wave. It's coming up. It's called the regenerative model, and a lot of people have been talking about it. And again, it's regenerative, meaning that it mimics nature. That's the entire idea, right? So growing food in a more natural sense. What exactly does that mean? Instead of ignoring the soil, it tends to the soil. Instead of this model where you feed the roots of the plant just so you can extract the plant and sell it, we focus on building out the strength of the nutrients in the soil so that that can produce better food, so that that can go out to be eaten and produce better people. Not only that, that we grow that food so that it can go to the animals, produce better animals, and make better people. And this is scientifically proven. The regenerative model is not something that is just anecdotal or just he say she say. It is proven that we actually get a more favorable balance of omega 3 and omega 6, right? The omega 3, the uninflammatory fatty acids in the body, versus the omega 6, the inflammatory fatty acids in the body. We get a favorable amount of those, and we observe more vitamins. The whole thing that we took out in the first place. We get more of them when we do the regenerative model. Not only that, but the regenerative model requires more independency from the farmer. And as we talked about earlier, when the farmer has more independency of their process from step 0 to step whatever, they make more money. They don't have to file bankruptcy. If the farmer makes more money, then we get people to stay in business who grow the food for the nation. It's only a win-win. The American gets better food and the farmer gets to keep doing their job, right? But what we're seeing right now is this huge decrease in farmers and regenerative farmers, because developers come in, they buy out the land, and market competition is too much. For example, like truly pasture-raised regenerative meat is likely not going to exist in your Jewel Osco, right? Your Costco, your Walmart, it's not there, right? It's actually being phased out of Whole Foods as well. It's hard to find. And because there's no market viability for these regenerative farmers, they aren't able to really scale and profit. Because of that, the conventionally raised CAFO chicken is what we call it. CAFO meaning a concentrated animal feeding operation. The factory farms is making all the food because they own the market. And that's why we developed Feed the Land. Go below. I got a link down there. Feed the Land is the initiative that we're launching to be able to back up the farmers that are doing this the right way, the way that we actually truly desire. And what we're doing is we're taking the produce, right, partnering with chicken farmers and protein farmers, right? So they can be raising anything from chicken, pork, beef. A lot of them grow multiple things, right? We partner with them and we get their food in places that otherwise wouldn't have them, right? Classically known as food deserts, right? Places with little to no access to grocery stores, people who will never have a pasture-raised egg in their entire life. I grew up in a low food secure area, and I know what it's like to have to go to the gas station to get your milk. And those are the people we want to be able to experience some of this food. So right now, Feed the Land is all about building out those bridges that connects the two, connects those farmers, growing their customer base. And what better way to do that than to bridge them to people who otherwise would never have the food? And that's why we're producing Feed the Land. That's why we're going after um, after big food by just undermining them. They have our dollar, but that's by proxy because we got to bail them out, and they just kind of they take over the grocery stores, and we still got to eat, so we go over to the grocery store. Fine, you can capture our dollar, but we're gonna build out something that redistributes wealth, redistributes the dollars in a way that says we don't need you, CAFO chicken. We don't need you, factory farm chicken. We can still support our regenerative farmers and get the food that we like and put it in places that otherwise wouldn't have it. Most Americans never had a real pasture raised egg. I remember when I got my first carton of pasture raised eggs. I was a fitness instructor for those that don't know. And I got my first pasture raised egg in 2023 at work. We had a um I had a client, and she came in. She was like, "Hey Johnny, do you want me to bring in some eggs tomorrow?" I was like, "What?" She was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, we got these eggs. We got chicken and we got duck eggs on my farm." And I was like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. You got to try them. You got to try them." So she comes in the next day, and she shows me this carton of eggs, and she like cracks it open. And is like, "These are yours." And they were like in a janky carton, and there was like a rubber band tied around them. And I looked at those eggs, and they were like, it was like looking at a rainbow. I literally felt like I unlocked a part of my brain. Here I am eating factory farmed eggs, even eggs that are labeled organic. I just didn't know. And then I get this wonderfully natural carton of eggs grown in a way that I didn't even understand was truly beneficial for me at the time. But even without all the science and omega-3s and nutrients that I know now, I knew those eggs were better. And that's what we can lean into here. The fact that intuition sometimes is telling the truth too, right? So I took those eggs home. I took pictures of the dark yolk, and I was set on fire from then. I didn't understand the intricacies of the food system and all that stuff, but that was 2020. What did I say? 2023? That was yesterday. It's only a few years later, y'all. We got some work to do. So yeah, vote with your dollars, right? Eat the best quality meat that you can afford. If you have a CSA near you, go interact with a CSA. A CSA is a community supported agriculture. That means you can literally Google farms near me and you can buy in a reasonably bulk manner for your family. And a lot of times you actually save on groceries. And a lot of these farmers near us, especially these more urban areas, and not even necessarily the urban areas, these farmers, these local farmers will deliver to your door if they've scaled it enough, right? So a lot of farmers around here in the Illinois area, they deliver straight to your door. And I'm saving on groceries. It's the coolest thing. You get the best meat for the cheapest price. So again, Google CSA. But if you just care about the issue and you just want to do something and you want to speak to it, donate below or donate to the stream right now.
Thank you for your patronage.
Donate just like Dubs did. Thank you so much. He says, tell Feed the Land that I said $10. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that, Dub. So yeah, right now, every dollar of AdSense we make, even our partners that we work with here on the channel, it's been a minute since we had a partner, but they know that their dollars are going to the erection and building out of Feed the Land at this time. You guys know that we wanted to make a website, all this stuff, and I'm happy to say that our website is almost done and we are turning into a legit initiative. So Feed the Land is going to be beautiful. You guys will see more about it on the channel here. But yeah, donate $8. Don't overthink it. Just donate $8. I like donate 8 because it rhymes. So donate $8. And we're building out the channels that connect our local organic farmers to our people that are in underserved communities. And here in Chicago, I'm nervous. I'm so nervous. Here in Chicago, on May 15th, we're going to host our first pasture-raised real food rally. We're going to be bringing pasture-raised farm-produced chicken into the hood, bringing real food to the hood. And we're going to have a food drive that is educational, that is awareness, that is exposure. We're going to entertain kids. We're going to teach kids. We're going to show them. And we want to inspire hope, right? We want to start to dedicate some language that actually educates and uplifts and dignifies these communities that are suffering from lack of equitable food access, especially for the food that we actually consider that matters. So we're doing that work. I cannot wait till you guys see the impact story. Donate to that cause if you haven't already, if you can afford it, if it makes sense for you, if you believe in it. Donate $8 to the link below because that allows us to run a successful food drive. And we're trying to raise money. I need to make a real campaign for it. I don't think the link in the description allows you to donate. It goes to it, but maybe I should blast it out because yeah, I just want to make sure that we do well because I want to show you guys. I want to show you guys these families, man. You guys got to see these families. They're great. They're funny. They're awesome. These are families that we want to serve on a very intimate level because I believe, as the leader of this initiative, that if we're going to see a change in food culture here in America, we got to do it with the family structure first. So that way it starts in house. And I don't think it's going to come overnight. I think it's going to be a lot of us planting narrative seeds into children, educating children, telling them and exposing them and educating them because our children hold the keys to the future generation, right? They hold the door to what the future generation looks like, right? They hold the keys to that door. And we want to impact them, right? This is a generational problem. If we want generational change, we got to talk to the most impressionable, malleable minds. Just like I had discovered a real pasture raised egg at the tender age of 22 or something like that. We can get to these kids and we can give them some core memories that hopefully allows them to grow older and try to make a difference, try to make some change. Oh, that's the one. Why so many eights? The donation goal is 888. Oh yeah, it's just yeah. That is the one in the link. Okay, yeah. We'd like to raise that money. I need to blast that out. It's 888 because the real reason for one, I like to say donate 8 because it rhymes, but the donation goal below is 8888 because 8 is a really cool number because just like nutrients cycle throughout the soil, 8 is very symbolic of cycling because it's all connected, right? We don't lose nutrients; they just get transferred over to the next thing. That's how food works. It's a cycle, and food is a connected loop, right? So 8, in my opinion, is like representational of nature because it's a closed loop, right? Um, but what we act like in conventional agriculture, what we do is we have an open loop because we create nutrients with NPK and we spray that on the food, right? So 8 is indicative of like the true idea behind regenerative agriculture. Ah, yeah, yeah. No, and no, and I really don't mean that in a weird way. What's numerology? Is that like the worship of numbers and like the belief of numbers and stuff? Um, yeah, I really mean it on a practical sense. 8 is just cool. It's like infinity, right? But I don't study numbers in that way, if that's what that means. Um, so yeah, yeah. All right, we are wrapping up. We're closing out. I can sit here and talk about man, yeah, thank you so much, Houston Vasquez. You the man. I appreciate that. Appreciate that, Houston. $10.
Thank you for your patronage.
Yeah, we're gonna start here in Chicago, and we want to blast this thing out. We want this to be um, something for everybody. I do believe in a day where the food that we actually desire, it will be more attainable, right? We don't have to eat K-full chicken forever. I think CSAs will become popular. I think the regenerative revolution in terms of the popularization and standardization of the farmers that are doing it right. I think they're going to become, become a lot more accessible, a lot more attainable. And I think what we're doing with standard agriculture in this mindless input model, I think it's going to fall. And it's going to be an ugly burst. It's going to be like the 2008 housing crisis. Mother Oats, hearts in the chat, guys. Hearts in the chat. Pamela, thank you so much for modding. You guys are the coolest people in the world. How long did we go for? How long did we go for, y'all? Does it tell you? How long did we go for? You guys are the coolest people in the world. How long did we go for, guys? The live stream actually stayed up this time. I didn't have any lag. That's so cool. Do I promise and say we'll be here next week? No, don't ever make a promise as a YouTuber. You can't keep them. Okay, cool. Send this to your friends. Donate to Feed the Land. Eat healthy. And hug your kids. Thank you guys so much for watching. Guys, how long did I go? Over 2 hours. That was the goal. I wanted to like not limit myself here. So I wanted this to be a longer stream. Over 2 hours. Cool. Thank you. Thank you so much, Meximo. See you later, Meximo. Hearts in the chat. Hearts in the chat so I can say bye to you as we bounce out. Come on. Smoke. Hearts. Purple hearts. Let me see you. Or those hearts work too, Miss Cat Mac. Thank you so much. A little bit of everything. Thanks so much. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Y'all take care. I need to see more hearts before I log off. Y'all think I'm kidding. No, Miss Cat Mac, you're fine. Any hearts are fine. I need to see more hearts. Show more love quickly. I'm not hitting the end stream until I see love in the chat. Becky Brown, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you guys for watching. Mother Oats, thank you so much for watching. For watching. Pam, thanks for modding. America's healing. We're getting there. Yes, we are. SLVWF, thank you so much for watching. Houston, thank you so much. Tofu Dog, thank you so much. Nathan, peace out. Thanks for being active in the chat. Ivan, thanks for being active in the chat. Peace out. Mother Oats, thank you for being active in the chat. You guys take care. Yeah, send this out to your friends. Algorithm hates anti-glyphosate content. Yeah, we'll see. So yeah, send this out to your friends. Dubs, thanks so much, man. You've been great today. Thank you so much for your activity and your support, man. Thank you so much. You guys go hug your kids, and I'm gonna get about your way. Love y'all. Peace.